Okay, so hello again, hobbyists. This is going to be another quick video about painting big miniatures and some of the techniques that I use to make them happen fairly fast. Painting big miniatures can be very soul crushing. It takes ages. Even small parts of the model can take a while to paint. You don't see results very fast. You have to use more processes to get good results, like on some small models at like tabletop distance. You can get away with two processes for, say, the leather or the boots or even the hair and such. Other things you have to use three processes to get a good look. At least I do. So base, wash, highlight, rather than just base and highlight. Base and highlight can work great for detail, small parts, and for just the generic, the average foot jerks in your army. You can just give them two processes, and from a distance, and they look fine, nothing to worry about. But for a big centerpiece like this mammoth, I'm going to show you. Ta-da! So this is a lovely big kit that I got from Shield Wolf Miniatures. Shout out to them, they make some great stuff, including plastic mountain orcs and some plastic shield maidens that are coming out soon, and I'm also getting those. Yes, I'm terrible at moving the camera, I'm moving the miniature instead. No, I'm not a professional videographer or anything, these just for hobby. Alright, so this is the mammoth. See if I can get a good look at his eyes for you, and yeah, I did his eyes. His eyes meant to look a little bit crazy because, he's being ridden by people and charging into battle and smashing into things. Now, I made a few add-ons to this model. The legs had to be attached, and so did the head, the trunk, the tusk, the tail. There were some pretty big gaps in the legs, and I had to fill those with sausages of green stuff. And then I noticed there were some pretty big gaps between the howdah and the body here. So at first I thought I'd put some rolled up blankets to fit the gaps under there. Around the front here there was big gaps, and the back wasn't such a big issue because you sort of don't see that as much. But there were some gaps around here. So I started putting just some rolls of green stuff under there to fill the gap, like there and there. And then it didn't look right. So I looked up some historical pictures of war elephants and stuff, and they had really big blankets that would go right down to here or lower, all around the body. So I figured a large sort of back blanket to cushion the hat, this heavy wooden hat on this poor mammoth's back, would look great. And it turned out pretty good, and it's added a bit more color to the model, saved me from painting a lot of fur, and sort of broken up the monotony of this model. Now, how do I paint it, you might wonder? Well, I started with a bit of Mornfang Brown Citadel to base this, but I used this spray, which saved me a lot of time and gave a really good base coat to the model. Then the base, actually, I had to use pads of green stuff to make these feet attach properly to the base. When I put them on just a flat base, they weren't perfectly level, all the feet, and so I had to use pads just to make some rock or terrain for them to sit evenly and connect solidly to the base. Then a lot of modeling sand later, some GW plastic sculpture, sculpture bits, and some sprue that I carved into like broken bricks. It's a bit hard to see now, and in this sort of shitty quality of video and lighting because I'm an amateur. So there's a bit of detail to the base, some snow. I might add some patches of grass later, but where I've left it now, I left it at this point because I varnished it. I had to put on the snow before that, and I do the grass after the varnish. Otherwise, you'd varnish the grass down. It doesn't look very good. So Mornfang Brown base. I washed all this fur with some Agrax Earthshade, and I picked out the wood and the base dirt with Rhinox hide. Oh, I forgot to mention, before that, I was dry brushing the fur. I used a bit of Mornfang with a bit of Troll Slayer Orange. I tried a bit of Ungor Flesh, a bit of Screaming Skull, and sort of worked my way up to lighter layers to do that. Then I picked out this and the dirt in Rhinox Hide, this in Cantor Blue, this in Graveyard Earth, the skin with Bugman's Glow. I then washed it with red wash, I think, and then red wash, because I wanted a bit of redness to this skin, make it look a little more animalistic rather than flesh. Then I lightened it up with a bit of Cadian Flesh Tone and Ungor Flesh, then more Ungor Flesh and Screaming Skull. This bone was just Steel Legion Drab, that is, with a brown wash, then Ushabti Bone, then Screaming Skull. The leather was Rhinox Hide, then, what is that brown color again? Doomball Brown. Doomball Brown, so Rhinox and Doomball Brown, then a little bit of Screaming Skull into the Doomball Brown. So on a model this big, these leather straps couldn't just be 2 processes, like leather might be on an infantry miniature. You have to go 3 to get some good looking stuff. And the metal is just lead belcher, black wash, runefang steel. The eyes are kind of interesting. They're quite big, these eyes, and to get a good result in such a big animal, I did them in black first, and it didn't look that great, especially when I put in the white, and it just was looking very cut. It didn't look really good. So I washed them with red. So you can actually see a bit of redness in the corner of the eye on the white, and that looks like a real eye. And I did the central part in black again, try to get the pupils looking right. Surrounded the black with a bit of XV88 mixed with a bit of orange, and then a bit of orange mixed with yellow to give a sort of a yellow-orange look on for the iris of the eye. And I used elephant eyes as reference. Elephant eyes don't have the whites, which I put the whites in because I wanted it to look a bit more like the cartoon, the myth, rather than the real thing, because the white makes the eye stick out. Without it, it wouldn't stick out as much. I am going to gloss these eyes because they've now been matte varnished, so I can gloss them now and they'll stick out more. So that's sort of where I was going. And yeah, that's sort of how I was painting this big miniature. Something important to remember when you're painting big miniatures, you don't have to do a lot at once. It can take quite a while, so it's okay to take breaks. I left this guy on a break for quite some weeks while I did other stuff. Like, sometimes I don't really feel like doing fantasy stuff. I'm more into sci-fi, and other times I want to do modern stuff, like the Walking Dead miniatures game. That's really awesome. And yeah, that's a bit of a quick guide on how I did do big miniatures, dry brushing, over brushing, washing, and taking some breaks and a bit of the basing and detailing. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video.